Yeah, absolutely. So I think that we have a lot of, production level video, but we
Yeah,
need, I mean, I feel fresh when I look at your video that
nice,
that's
nice.
that's genuine voices and just share what you feel. And
Yeah,
then there is this competition backing it up in the
yeah,
speaker fest. This is
yeah.
not just
Yeah, and that's what that's kind of where I took my cue from was I said, okay, I mentioned Speaker Fest, and all that, but I said, let me kind of do my own little Speaker Fest in the intro, right? Just so that people say, okay, he's saying there's so many YouTubers, I'm not going to mention the names. Oh, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Oh, this is so amazing. This is so great. And I'm like, yeah, but you said that in the last video too, man.
yes,
Right?
yes,
And,
yeah,
and it's the same thing with electronics, right? Oh, this is
yes,
the best DAC. Oh,
right,
this is the
right,
best amp. Oh, this is,
yeah.
and I'm like, so like my friends at Black Ice, they laugh at me, right? Because, okay, Joe, so where is your allegiance? Where is your this is your Black Ice on one side, all tubes, Jim Fosgate, and then your Class D GANFET on the other side, right? Which I still have to do a follow-up video because I want to hook up Leo's amplifier to your guys' stuff just to get, the tubes versus transistor thing, out of the
Hmm.
way. And but yeah, it's it's funny though because again, I'm a bass freak, right? But when I get a pair of stand mount speakers to listen to, I really want to listen to them, right? Like you said, yeah, the bass is great and shaking the room, but at the same time, if I can't hear the music, then there's no real point, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
there's a lot of there's a lot of manufacturers that's their thing. They want to get the kids in, energetic about it. They want to get the kids excited about it. So if they want bass, okay, here's your bass heavy speaker. If you want
Yeah,
tonality, okay, this is your, but with you guys, it's everything. Dennis's designs, and like I said in the video, man, the crossover is the magic, right? I don't know if he's using, first order filters, second order. Is he, obviously it's either bandpass or Linkwitz Riley, either way. You
yep, yep. We
and
have fourth
obviously
and we have second.
nice, nice. So
Yeah.
it's second order on all three drivers, or
No, second order is on the between the bass and the mid range.
nice, nice.
And that's actually the magic. It is difficult to pull it off using second order
Yeah, yeah.
unless your driver is high quality,
Yeah, no,
right?
no,
Yeah.
that's understood. I mean, it was like a lot of the DIY stuff I used to do. My first pair of speakers was a big, huge, tower that I built fresh out of community college 30 years ago. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I'd seen, up in Canada, you only had three speaker manufacturers. You had Axiom, Paradigm, and PSB, right? So I said, oh, I can't afford any of these things. I'm still a college student, graduate, still living with my parents, right? And I said, okay, I'll build a pair of speakers. Why not?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
easy, right? Just some, it's just some cabinets, and wood and screw the speakers in and that's it. I don't need to buy any electronics pieces. I don't need to worry about blowing things up, if you're building an amplifier or something like that.
Hmm.
Oh, dude. So I went over to Parts Connection in Oakville and I bought the copper foil inductors, Solon capacitors.
Right, right, right.
And
That's
the thing is,
exciting.
I had no clue what I was doing, Ken, okay? This is 1994, right? You don't have YouTube. You don't have, CSS built, making crossovers with, thermoplastic and all this stuff, you were on your own, right? So all
Right,
I would
right.
do is I bought, I got the book from the library, speaker design and all this. Oh, okay, so I just have to calculate it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna put a third order because everybody says third order is more narrow, more this. So I did all three filters, low pass, band pass, and and I said to myself, why do I have to have so many damn parts for a mid-range driver? And it sounds like an AM radio when you listen to it by itself. honestly, Ken, this is how I learned all this stuff, right? Stereo Review magazine when I was a kid, that was stereo review and audio, man. That was my go-tos when I was a kid.
Right.
Stereophile and the Absolute Sound, man, that's for the people, with the big incomes and so when I built them, of course, to me, they sounded great. Then you go to a store and it's like, oh shit, okay, they're okay, but the mid range is a little shouty, and I didn't know you had to use an L pad to balance between the tweeter and the mid range, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
or impedance match, and
Right,
just
right,
basically, inductor, capacitor, inductor, okay, straight to the driver, right?
right,
You
right.
know, uh, so that's how I learned all this stuff.
Do you have measurement gear at that time?
No, dude, you know what I had
No.
for, you know what I had for measurement gear? You're gonna laugh. So I used to play keyboards, right? Synthesizer.
Uh-huh.
I had an old Roland monophonic synthesizer, right? And it had a square wave and sine wave and all this stuff. So I would play notes on it, right? And then I had a multimeter or something that had like no, I forget how I did this. And I took the output level, and what I was doing was I was measuring the output level from my quote unquote Roland synthesizer, measuring the amplitude, and then I would basically on a piece of graph paper write down, put the dots. Okay, at this frequency, this is my amplitude. At this frequency, this is my amplitude. Dude, I had no idea
Yeah.
what the hell I
So
was
you
doing.
have a DIY measurement gear.
you know,
That
but dude, honestly, man, and you're a kid just fresh out of college, and I was studying RF electronics, right? So
right, right,
everything I was doing was okay, vector network analyzer stuff, but you're in the 2.4 gigahertz range. When we learned about tubes, it was traveling wave tubes and glystrons and all this stuff. It wasn't audio level gear, right? And then when I got my first job in high tech in Ottawa, a friend of mine, he was tuning bandpass filters for RF applications, right? And he was a computer tech, and they were just teaching him the RF on the job, right? I walk into his RF cage because they had a whole Faraday thing set up so that he wasn't basically interfering with the testing guys and manufacturing and all this.
right.
And I looked at his VNA. This is in 1995 now. Push this button, Smith chart measurement. What? In college, man, we had to sit there, do the polar, non-polar stuff, and I would always get the answer wrong, right? Because you had these big, huge equations, and I walk into this guy's cage and you just push the button, and there's my impedance plot. What
Yeah,
the hell,
yeah.
man?
There are two who can do that. Yeah.
And now it's like now you've got room equalization wizard. You can I
Yeah,
have I have a
you have,
spectrum analyzer on this laptop that I'm doing the Zoom with, right?
right,
And but I mean, no argument. Like when working with Leo is a very heavy measurements guy, right? He's got to make sure that the ASR people, if there's somebody gets a grab of his product, that everything quote unquote measures perfect, right? But then it's got to sound good.
right,
But and again, that's why I liked referencing Aaron's videos and Audioholics videos, right? But it would be so cool to get your guys' stuff like with Ron over at New Record Day, right? That's another guy that would probably appreciate it. Um, and who else do well, Thomas up in Montreal, he's another good one. Thomas and I are actually pretty good now because I've been working with his Galleon tube amps. And
hmm
I actually, the funny thing is, Ken, so Thomas had these transmission line little bookshelf speakers that he had. That was my other. So the design on your guys, is it a ported transmission line design or is it strictly because somebody tried to correct me on that in the comment section and I didn't want to argue, so I figured I'd ask you about that.
Yeah, so the for our towers is all about transmission line.
Okay, so I
For the BMR, it's
yeah.
not
Okay,
because it's too short.
correct.
Transmission line, you need a tube and you need to tune that frequency
Yeah,
to help with the bass and
yeah,
smoothlize
yeah,
some of the frequency response.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so And the other thing that I really appreciated with that RAL tweeter, I've been having problems with the Klipsch's getting the treble. For some reason, when I put these big KT 170 tubes in the Black Ice amp, all of a sudden I lost it all, right? And then I made some modifications on the input stage of the amplifier, which helped,
Mm-hmm.
but I still wasn't happy, right? I still, something wasn't right. Brother, when I hooked up the BMR bookshelves, the stand, everything's just perfect. Mid-range, the treble was not killing my ears. No, I'm not making it like you said, and I didn't really say too much about it in the video, but it basically whatever doubts I had on the amplifier were gone. We're absolutely like now, okay, I know nothing, everything is good, everything is beautiful in the world. My next step, like I mentioned, I'm gonna try it with the Class D GANFET and see how that sounds with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, honest to God, it was like listening to listening to those speakers. It ruled out any issues that I had in my system, right? And like I said, I just wish I had five of them in my room.
Yeah, and if you see how speaker evolve and
Yeah,
how electronic evolve in the
that's
last
the
few
next thing I
years.
know we were gonna do. You mentioned in the email, so I'll let you talk more about how things got to where they were to where they are now. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the electronic, because the digitalization has improved so much, you could get a lot of the big watts amplifier with the clean, low distortion and all that nowadays.
yeah,
But you simply cannot do that with speaker because speaker is still mechanical part.
yeah,
It need to move the air, it need the cabinetry, and you cannot bend the physics. And the
yeah,
distortion is still, I would say 90% of the distortion of your system coming from the speaker.
yeah,
So when you upgrade a speaker from a normal distortion to a very, very low distortion using good driver and the frequency response is
yeah,
very linear, you're going to hear the most difference
yeah,
from everything else in the system, and that's just you cannot bend the physics, and that's how it is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, like I said, I had Thomas's little transmission line things, and I could not get them to work with any of the amps that I had. But when he sent his amps, and I'm like, dude, what did you do? He says, what do you mean? I said, those speakers only sound good with one amplifier, yours. I'm like, dude,
that
and again, Thomas knows me, just like like I said in the video. I call it out like it is. I don't try to denigrate. I don't try to nasty comments about manufacturers, all that. But I'm like, how come these speakers sound beautiful with only one amplifier? And it
right,
just so
right,
happens it's his, right?
right,
And
right.
I saw all the other YouTubers in their videos, and I'm like, no, guys, I don't know what you guys are doing, but you're missing the boat here somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was so refreshing, and I know I've already said this three times, hooking Dennis's speakers up to the tube amps that have been giving me so much grief, and I just was able to relax, man.
We have user using the 300B 2 amps
Yeah,
for just 1 watt to drive the BMR
yeah,
monitor,
yeah,
and because the impedance of the speaker is a easy low, so
yeah, of course.
they actually were happy about it.
Yeah,
And I used to hear people saying, hey, transmission line, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I think it all depends on how you implement it, right?
correct.
We
Exactly.
implement we implement the transmission line in a big tube and we tune the frequency to augment some of the bumps and pikes.
Yep.
It actually give you the advantage of being a very clean bass, right?
Yes.
We don't really bump it out.
Yeah.
Many manufacturers bump it out in like a 50, 60 range to
Yeah.
make you think it's bigger.
Yeah.
We don't do that. Our tower is extremely clean
Yeah. And
bass.
that's the thing. And I learned that too also with these Klipsch Cornwalls that I have. Everybody's, oh, big 15-inch woofer, that thing must shake the ground. I said, no, man, it's not about that. These speakers, they reproduce the bass only if it's really there in the music material.
Right, right.
Honestly, and that's the right way to do it. like same thing with subwoofers. You don't want to hear the subwoofers. Their only job is to tune the room.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with boom, boom, boom. Well, again, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, it was all about boom, boom, boom. And like I said in one of my videos, the old Joe would have had a big 15-inch, 1,000-watt subwoofer in the corner of the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks cool and it'll shake
It
the
looks
whole
cool.
room,
Yeah.
but when you
Yeah.
listen to music, it's no fun.
But people falling victim to their eyes, right?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah,
cannot really see the sound wave,
yeah,
and you cannot really see how the reflection goes and
yeah,
how the sound wave travel from the speaker to your ears.
yeah, yeah,
So a lot of the thing that you are not hearing something you wanted, and you mistaken it for something else.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And people walk into my living room, friends of mine from the club, and they see the big Cornwalls and all the clips and my Bose 901s in the surround and all this. What's with the little subwoofers and why do you have four of them? Why didn't you just get one big one? I said, no, guys, it's not about that. That's why when I told you in the emails that I tuned the room, the front subs are in phase, the back subs are out of phase. And I learned that from a gentleman that passed away a couple of years ago. He had the big Infinity IRS fives,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically had the way his living room was set up, he couldn't put the sub stack behind the panels like you normally would. So he literally put them on either side of his sofa, 180 degrees out of phase with the panels in the front. And you didn't know that the subs were on until the bass notes were in the material that you're listening to. Right. So you had these big, huge towers. It looked cool, looks impressive, but you're not going to hear them unless it's in the music, right?
Right.
And
Right.
those panels were only designed for 100 hertz and above, right? And like I said, when I did my homework on the BMR driver and I think Cambridge Audio is
Right.
using them,
Cambridge Audio has it. Yeah.
and
Many airport has it.
yeah, that's for and that was the thing. It was Jeff Kalina that mentioned it to me. I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He says, you know, when you go to the airport and they have the little speakers, you don't see
Uh-huh.
them, but you can hear them.
Right.
It's those
Right.
little BMR drivers, and they're only $20 a pop. That's why airports are throwing them everywhere in now.
Yes.
You have to have
Yes.
those big, huge PA little boxes hanging off the walls. They
Mm-hmm.
can put
Mm-hmm.
these things, and and like I said, I mean, there were some people that were at the Speaker Fest that they were like very curious about Dennis's designs because they knew his history. All the DIY community, man, Dennis is like God.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
seriously, like honestly, he's my friend from Prescott. My other friend, that has the older ones with the curved top and all this. These guys were only there for one reason, to hear his stuff, honestly. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
totally, totally blown away that little speaker in a big room brought out, so far still had enough bass energy to excite the room, without making it, overbearing or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's really the design that matters. I mean, if you have a very expensive driver, but the
Yeah,
design doesn't fit, then
yeah,
you're not gonna, you might see that as an expensive driver. You're not gonna hear it the way it should be. And
yeah,
if you look at Dennis crossover, which translated to the cost, because our crossover,
yeah,
even our smallest true mini,
yeah,
has like a 14 elements. Who
yeah,
the hell in the earth
yeah,
put
yeah, yeah,
14 electronic component into a true mini? And the way it goes up, when you go to our tower, our
yeah,
BMR, our crossover is always
yeah.
heavy, like a 4 pounds,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
on a
And the
crossover.
thing is, like I said, I know that, so a lot of people, and I include myself in this guilty category, they're like, what kind of parts are they using? Are they using iron core inductors, or what kind of capacitors are they using? Right. And I'm at the end of the day, I look at people like not just Andrew Jones, but anybody who's designing budget speakers, you can put $1,000 crossover parts in the thing. Yeah, it's gonna sound so much quote unquote better, depending on what your version of better is. But what's your return on investment now? You're basically, okay, you've got all these cool parts in the screen, the crossover, like I did on my Klipsch's, right? I only did that because I got pissed off when I blew the stupid tweeters, right? And then it happened to me again this year. And Klipsch is like, what are you doing to? I says, it's not me, it's your damn crossover, right? I said, your tweeter circuit is basically, it's a third order, right? It's literally cap, inductor, cap, right? There's no L pad, there's no nothing. So if you have any high frequency content that's a little too much, like I said in my video last year, I blew up the tweeters watching a James Bond movie, right? Like the hell. And then it
Yeah,
happened with all the issues I was having with the amplifier and all
yeah,
this. And then I find out I fried another tweeter again. And Klipsch is pissed off at me. They says, we're not sending you any more free tweeters with the warranty. This is the last pair we're going to send you. I says, but nobody in the country's blown these tweeters up before. You're the only one. I says, dude, but you can only have a certain wattage amplifier. The kid's talking to me on the phone, and I didn't want to upset him, Ken, because he's reading off of a script, right?
yes, yes.
And I just wanted my warranty stuff. My first question is, why did these tweeters blow? Right? Okay, last night my wife and I were watching Atlas with Jennifer Lopez on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Dolby Atmos, and again, I've had your speakers 100% on all the time. I have not gone back to the Cornwall fours, which is actually kind of bad, you know, bad in a good way. And I had the volume up in the room. I didn't fry anything, right? So, this all goes back to parts quality. Like Dennis put the parts quality money where it counts, right? You have
Yeah,
the tweeter, and then you have the woofer, and that BMR driver's job is to do one thing and one thing only. Like I said before, sound like an AM radio, but sound like the best damn AM radio, right? And without having to spend a huge, because again, that's that whole transition between the woofer and the tweeter, right? That's the whole job of the mid-range, right? That's the whole transition. That's why I said in the video, I don't know what black magic crossover he designed inside the box, but it worked.
yeah,
It's a
and I
seamless
think
transition. And I didn't want to say the word point source in the video because I know people would start screaming at me. But honestly, I'm not listening to the RAL tweeter. I'm not listening to the BMR drivers. I'm not listening for how bad is the bass coming out of the woofer. I'm just listening to a pair of speakers, man.
right,
Right?
right,
You
right.
know, and no tweaking, no EQing, none of that. And I don't use DSP in my room, right? My DSP is my room treatment, right?
We actually discourage people EQing our speaker because the
Good,
frequency
good.
response is so perfect already.
Exactly, exactly.
And the reason that your tweeter is blown, it's been crossed too low. So when you have a stronger signal send, your tweeter cannot handle it, and it just blew. I mean that is not gonna happen with the BMR. I mean
No, no,
we
and the thing is, my friend Greg, like I said in the video, Joe, don't blow them up. I'm in when I come back from Indiana, I already paid them, you know that? I said, don't worry about it. I know the
right.
guys now. If I need a part, like I was joking with him, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
but no,
yeah.
it's not about blowing stuff up though, Ken. It's like, your market is going to be everybody from the home theater freaks to
Right.
audiophiles to people that just want a pair of speakers that look nice in their living room. Like you mentioned, your lady friend that came over,
Yeah.
she didn't care how they sounded.
No,
My wife, my
yeah,
wife is hearing impaired on both sides, right? She
yeah.
appreciates good music one way or another, but for her, it's all aesthetics. When I brought those Cornwalls home 2.5 years ago with my son, she's like, "What the hell?" And that's the other thing. In my living room, in order for small speakers to sound good, I have to bring them out from the front walls. And I always get nervous, about that because if somebody knocks the speaker stand over walking into my house or just walking, through the living room, oops. So, and that usually somebody is going to be me, not my friends coming over, not my wife, not my son, not the dogs, is going to be me, right? And so that was the other reason Well, I went with the Cornwalls. Now, here's another question I was gonna ask you. With the BMR towers, can they be put closer to the wall? Kind of like this, because that was my main thing why I went with those Cornwalls was I needed something that I could put towards the wall, but still give me a decent phantom center, not
Hmm.
too much boomy bass, but just enough to, So with the towers, do they have to be pulled out into the room or can they be pushed back into the Cornwall?
I I have customer doing both ways. I have customer putting the tower in a tiny space that you can ever imagine
Yeah.
because the BMR tower is front ported,
Mm,
so it doesn't have the restriction of, you put it against the wall. So I have people putting a pair of BMR tower
yeah.
in a tiny room against two corners.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot
And
of bass.
yeah, that picture and his room size
Mhm.
is, those IKEA chair that you could lie down. It's
Yeah, I
about
used to have
50.
one. I broke it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's that small, and he had a pair of ebony BMR tower
Mm,
playing in that. Yeah, so and because of the transmission, transmission, they tune
mhm.
the box of resonance to center a certain frequency of the bass, right? That's the
Right,
beauty of it. So you won't hear that boomy bass. It's
right,
gonna be
right.
clean and it's gonna be beautiful coming out from the transmission line bass, BMR tower.
And
Yeah.
and you're gonna laugh when you hear this. And I know this is gonna sound a really stupid comment coming from me. So after got the bookshelves working and all this, so why don't I just take the horns out of my clipshes altogether, build some panels, get Dennis to design me a crossover and say, okay, I'll just get rid of the whole horns altogether. I'll put a RAL tweeter and then two little BMRs on either side and call it a day and piss off everybody from all the Klipsch owners and I'll still have the Klipsch box, but I don't have to have the Klipsch sound anymore.
Yeah, he did that.
You
It's
know,
a possible. But he's gonna advise you, no, you cannot put two BMR
no, I know,
on the side
I know,
because
I
it will
know.
cancel out.
Well,
So
but or if he says, okay, Joe, if you want to do that, this is what you're gonna do, and this is how you're gonna,
yeah.
so that's the first thing because my whole thing is I'm stuck with these speakers now. I mean, I could sell them tomorrow morning if I wanted to. I have all the old crossover parts. I can put everything back together,
Hmm.
factory, but it's not the point. It's like, you buy a pair of speakers especially at our age, like I'm in my mid 50s now, right?
Hmm.
You're trying to get your forever speakers, right? And now I'm like, okay, I've been living with these things for more than 2 years. And I'm like a lot of other people where it sounds great at Capital Audio Fest. It sounded great over at my friend's house, but I need to know what it sounds like in my living room.
Right.
Right? So that's going to be my next question is right now you guys are doing everything build to order, correct?
Well, build to order, we are gonna have some inventory.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's a mix of, we're gonna have in stock item.
Good,
I'm
good,
just
good.
trying to improve the supply chain performance.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the wait time will be shorter.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like, and again, if somebody buys the speakers, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to return them and ask for their money back. 9 times out of 10,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
For
yeah.
for but for that one person that wants the money back, they it doesn't work in their equipment or doesn't work in their room or what's your guys' return policy on the? And again, it's probably on the website, and I didn't dig deep enough to read into it, but
Yeah, so we have 2 weeks. So
okay,
once
so
you
that's standard. That's
yeah, once
again,
you
same
receive
thing
it,
with Orchard. Same thing with
right, right, you could return within 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah. Orchard's the
Yeah,
same way. Yeah, yeah. No, that
right,
makes sense.
right,
That makes sense
right.
because and the other thing too, and I know this is another nasty subject. I'm not a big believer in speaker burn-in. It either sounds good to me as soon as I turn them on,
That's right.
right, or get them out of my house. Honestly, it's for me, it's like that. It's like, there's other YouTubers that feel the same as me, and there's other YouTubers that, oh no, it's got to have 200, or manufacturers, they'll say, oh, you got to have 100 hours of burn-in or 200 hours of burn-in. And then there's this stupid argument, well, that's going to exceed the 14-day trial period if I got to burn them in. So can't you guys do that? Again, these are stupid comments, Ken, but this is the kind of
Right.
crap I listen to all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So is there a burn-in period with your guys' stuff, or you guys don't, everything is designed that, plug them in, turn them on, and just enjoy it?
Well, so depends.
Okay,
Um, the bigger the woofer,
yeah,
when you play them more,
yeah,
there are gonna be some parameter change on the woofer.
okay,
Now, those are measurable,
yeah,
but those are probably not gonna be audible.
understood.
So when we tell people, we told them this, right? When you play them at the first time,
Yeah,
most of our customer told us that it's great right off the bat.